Now I've got to do one of the jobs at the back end as we're getting sort of close to having everything finished off, and that is this. As you can see, with the sprocket moved out, I'd mentioned this early on, we've got the heads of the bolts hit there. I've thinned them down, but if I thin them down anymore you wouldn't be able to get a spanner on. So what I'm going to do is, here's one of the other bolt holes, I'm going to put chamfered ones in. Now these bolts are 10mm, 1.25 10mm, so they're a fineish thread. Well, when I went through the catalogues and whatever, I was damned if I could find a countersunk flat-headed 10 by 1.25. So I was thinking of all sorts of things, and then I got to measuring, and a 10mm bolt is basically just over 9.9mm. And as luck would have it, 9.9mm is the tap drill size for a 7/16 UNF bolt. And when I looked at my suppliers had 7/16 UNF countersunk flat-headed bolts. So what I'm going to do is just slide a 9.9mm drill in there, tap it 7/16, countersink these, and then that'll all go on together. So let's do that. Now I'm going to do the drilling and tapping in situ, because you know the wheel, took the wheel out, it's too big to get on the drill press or even in the mill, and the hole in the sprocket is going to act as a bit of a guide, because the first thing is it's the same size as the drill that I want to use to do the tapping hole. And then once I've done that, I can use this, I can drill a 7/16 hole in this and then use that as a guide for the 7/16 tap. So come on now, grip. You know, I don't know if I'm completely sold on keyless chucks, but that's what this came with, so that's what I've got. Alright, so that's drilled it out to the tapping size. Now, hopefully this won't grab too much the way we're doing it. A little bit of oil on. Well, there's not much oil in there, Michael. Put some cutting oil on. The reason I'm going so steadily is the last thing I want is to push the drill through and drill into the hub where I'm going to tap it. Oh, come on now, don't be like that. There we go. So that's that. So now that hole, as I say, will act as a bit of a guide, at least so we're not too far out, for the 7/16 tap. Then the countersinks. I've actually done one of these, and it was difficult doing the countersink with just a hand drill. So when I've got all the holes drilled, I'll take the sprocket off, and then I'm going to do the countersink by on the drill press. Get that up straight. There we go. Take that out of there. Just check this. There we go. Right, so I'll work my way around. What I'm going to do is the 3 in between here, because that's holding it all nice. Then I'll put the 3 spaces that I've got made where these are, and then I can drill and tap the 3 where the bolts are now. Then, as I say, I'll take the sprocket off because we had a little bit of luck. You remember? We've just got a 1/2 inch threaded rod in here to hold everything together. But this was more than 1/2 inch, so it's a bit loose. But the actual wheel spindle for the Yamaha wheel was huge. So I was just looking for something the other day and I came across this. And I thought, oh, when I checked, it's the right size for that, which is actually 9/16. It's long enough. I have no idea what it's out of because the thread on it is British Standard Fine. 9/16 BSF, 16 threads per inch. So this is long enough for me to even make some little collars here for this to butt up against, the chain tensioner to butt up against. So there is our rear wheel axle. Okay, so let me do the other 3 and then I'll come back when we're ready to do the countersinks. So here I've got the sprocket off on the mill so that I can do these with a nice big countersink here. And basically to centre it, if I just move this in its 2 axes, the countersink will slowly sort of fit in, and you'll get it so that you'll have it pressed down and you'll maybe move it a little bit one way and it'll go in a little bit further. So you can just jog it side to side and back to front and get it nicely centered like that. So we'll do that. A little bit of cutting oil, because these sprockets of course are harder than average. And away we go. And I know I'm right when this countersink is just touching the edge of there. So, and that's made a much, actually when I was trying to do it with a hand drill, I was getting a little bit of chatter on. That's a perfect, I don't know if you can see it. Where's my brush? Where's my brush? There it is. Let's see what you can see. Yeah, you can see it's nice, shiny, smooth. So let me go around, do the other ones, and then I'll come back. Now I've done all 6, as you can see, and they fit in there nicely, so that will go past the swinging arm, no problem. And I was just thinking I had to make up some more of the little spaces, and I thought, okay, let me go on. And I remembered that for the Indian, the rear footrests were 7/16 bolts, so I'd already made these up, because it turns out that the silencer has this built into it, so I didn't need spacers. There were spacers on it when I got the bike, which is why I made these up. But anyway, I'm blathering on again. So I just need to cut some spacers from that, so that saves me a little bit of a job. But you remember me saying that I had to be careful when I was drilling through the sprocket with the 7/16 inch drill, that I didn't go right through and into the hole that I was going to tap. Well, one of the holes I wasn't careful enough. So although the rest are all nicely tapped and everything, that one will have to be repaired. So what I'll do is drill it out. I might just be able to get this, I don't know, on the milling machine. Might just. And drill that out and make an aluminium plug to go in it. So I might have to take it to 3/4. I've just been looking, and of course, actually I think that's piece 3/4. Is it? It is, yeah. So yeah, that would leave enough meat around. I could drill that and tap it for a piece of 3/4, then thread the outside with the 3/4 thread and drill and tap the inside with the 7/16, and that would do it. Of course, I've just been looking, and I've got, where is it, 3/4 coarse die and several 3/4 fine. No, that's coarse and that's fine. Yeah, so I've got 3/4 coarse taps and 3/4 fine dies, typical, which actually is the best way to be, because I could tap the hole with that and I could actually turn the 3/4 thread on the lathe, being an outside thread. So we'll see. Or I might make it a press fit and maybe even put a little bit of weld around the top. Just don't forget, these bolts aren't put in tension so much this way. They're not holding it on as much as in that direction. They're holding the sprocket against the pull of the chain. So really all the pressure is on this way, not that way. But we'll see. So anyway, as I say, let me make some spaces and think about this, and we'll come back to it. Well, I'm back again already, because I just thought also, you remember the spaces I made to position the wheel in the swinging arm and take up the different size of this bearing to the wheel spindle we were going to use? Well, to get everything done, I just made them out of aluminium. But actually, one viewer mentioned that when he used to road race, he'd made up similar things, thinking, ooh, you know, keep them light, make them out of aluminium. But the pounding they take was too much for them, so they need to be steel, because it's not that they're just spacers, they're actually acting like bushes. So what I'm going to do is also I'm going to make these up in steel for that nice new 9/16 one of those we found, because I don't think, you know, before I go ahead and do that, when I'm up having my cup of tea, I'm just going to check on bearings, see if I can get a bearing that'll fit this OD and the right ID for the 9/16, because if I can, then I'll just pop these bearings out and that's it. Anyway, just thought I'd mention that, so probably have that to do as well. I just thought I'd show you the setup that I'm using for this. I managed to get the wheel onto the mill. The drill bit I've got in at the moment is the 7/16 that made this hole. So I've set it up with that, and that's exactly right for there, and I've zeroed it on the DRO. So I'll move the wheel out the way a little bit, put a bigger drill in fact this one, which is just over 1/2 inch. I'm going to drill a hole with that. Then what I'm going to do, this is hollow inside here, of course, so I'm going to make a piece which is a press fit in there, but which has also got a collar on it, and I'm going to press it in from the other side, and then we'll sort of mill it, make sure it's nice and flat. Should come out flat, if not I'll mill it, and that will be it. So as I say, I think that'll be alright. I'll push it, when I press it in, I'll use some red Loctite, and we'll dimple it with a punch in 3 or 4 places to hold it even tighter. Okay, so let me do that and then I'll bring you back. Now here's the piece I made. As I say, this is going to go in that way, so that actually when the bolt's screwed in, it's going to be pulling it into here. I couldn't thread the outside because I'd forgotten I don't have a threading dial. It's the one thing that's missing off my lathe. So I thought I'd make it a press fit and put some Loctite on and stuff like that. And then I fell foul of something that Dave's mentioned to me. If you want something to fit into a hole, you do not drill the hole. You drill the hole small and then you ream it to the size you want, because my press fit is a loose fit. So this happened last night. Naturally I was going to go stomping off because I was going to have to make one of these. So what I've decided to do though is I'm going to put it in from the other side, put the sprocket on, so all this is bolted up and this is bolted in there nice and tight, and I can actually get into the back of this with the TIG torch with the little button head on. So while it's nicely held in place, I'm going to weld it on the inside. I've chamfered this and I'm going to weld it there. So we're going to repair the repair. My only excuse is this damn black coat. Obviously it's not calibrated for this more specific work. Anyway, let me get ahead and weld this up, and then we can go from there. And there we have the repaired repair. So that will now go in there, so we can put the sprocket on. Now I've remade the spacers in steel. I don't know if I mentioned, but one of the viewers pointed out that in his road racing days he'd done this with aluminium, and found that I mean, although they're fine for spacers, to act as a sleeve in the bearing, they started to break up, and I guess they'll certainly flatten out. So there's two steel ones, same dimensions. I've also made up two spacers to go on the ends, and what I've done is I've milled a flat on them, and that's for the chain tensioner as it screws out to go against. I also made the engine mounting bolts out of 4140, so they're all made to length and threaded up each end as engine studs rather than actual bolts. So I'm going to put the wheel in with the new steel things in, and we'll put these in instead of just that 1/2 inch threaded rod, and we'll go from there. There's the wheel in with the spacer, and you can see how the adjuster here goes up against the flat. You can also see how perfect this bolt turned out to be for the wheel spindle. I mean, it's sticking out the same 1/8 on the other side. So fell in really lucky there. Still don't know where it came from, but we know where it's gone. Now I've actually been spending some money. Feeling a bit weak, but you know, sometimes you can't avoid it. So one of the things I bought, being on eBay, was the battery carrier, which is one of those things that goes in that way, I think. Yeah. So the battery carrier goes in, as you can see, it's got a slot here and a hole there. So the hole there is for this bolt, the slot goes behind here. So as I'd made all these spacing pieces the same size, I had to shorten that one by the appropriate amount. Where am I going? There we go. So I can get myself organised here. Everything's getting, there we go. So they go under those, and then that goes in there like thus. Goes in there like thus. I've got to get some 1/2 inch UNF nuts. I used the last couple on putting the engine bolts in. Alright, so that goes in like that. Now, battery goes in the back half here. I have no idea what goes in here, but it's going to be very handy. Because the Yamaha engine, of course, has all sorts of electronical bits. And I'm thinking I can probably maybe mount a plate onto here and fasten everything into this place there. Now, the other thing I bought was some side panels. Now, I've never owned a Commando. I've worked on a couple. The very first restoration I did for Britannia Motorcycles was a Commando. But what I didn't realise was, looking on eBay, that there are slight differences in the side panels. So I bought some side panels. They've got the right two holes to go on. See, there's one rubber mount in here. Hang on, can you see there's one rubber mount in there? Yes, you can. There's one there, and there's another one that forms part of the battery carrier. And I measured them, and they're the right distance apart. But this has a tang on the bottom which doesn't seem to register with anything down here, and it's a bit awkward when I put it in, but they go on there like that. But this top one is nowhere near, unless there's a rubber. Could be a rubber mount, but I think what I remember is they sort of push onto the rubbers there, then you swing in here and just put a, how do you pronounce it, Zeus, whatever, fastener in there, just a little lock thing, because it's got, as you can see here, there's a hole, and this spring is there for that fastener to catch behind. So I'll have to see what the fastener is for there. And for the other side, actually I might pull you in a little bit to show you the other side. Yep. The other side I'm going to have to make something up for, because as you can see on the other side the holes are on the top, and the oil tank that goes in here would have had the pins on for that to go on. So we've got a little doodad down here for a rubber, but no hole there. So we'll have to fiddle on a little bit. But anyway, we've got those. I also bought some new rubbers. Keep pointing at things. You know, you've got to shout out if you can't see. Oh, yes you can. So, bought new rubbers and put them on because the old ones had got really nasty. And actually, because it's, although I keep the workshop warm, these aren't particularly pliable, so I'll put a little bit of WD-40 on that. Then we can put the carbs on. And then when we've got the carbs on, I can see how much space I've got for air filters. Now, this is the reason why I didn't raise the front of the engine. I had a number of people mention that I should raise the front as well. So I did take the bolts out and lift it up, and I could bring it up a little bit, but I started to bring, as it came up, these came back like this. So I'm going to leave it at that angle. Actually, I think it's aesthetically it's quite a nice angle. We'll put these on. Let's see if we can put these on now. They're always a fight. Talk amongst yourselves while I get my WD-40. I'll swing you around as well a little bit, look. Dee 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 dee. There you go, and I'll swivel this light here. That doesn't make much difference. Okay. Look at this. Looks nasty, doesn't it? It's WD-40. It's what I use for lubricant on aluminium. So I have it in this spray thing. And I had a little bit of kerosene in there because I'd been using that because I ran out of WD-40. And it settles out into 2 layers, and there was the tiniest bit of kerosene. I could tell you all about doing water tests on methanol, but I won't because it'd probably bore you. But anyway, so we'll squirt a bit of that in there. My wife will kill me when I go in because I'll stink at WD-40. Now get ready because there might be some swearing now. Come on. I might have to warm these rubbers up. It's the end of the day and I've switched the heating off, so there's one gone in. This is a lot of work for my little old man arms, you know. I was just reading that your legs get smaller because you lose nerves in your leg, and the nerves don't make the muscles work, so they fade away. Didn't say anything about arms though. Alright, I'm rambling again. Oh, God. If anybody sat there thinking, oh well, you know, there's an easy way to do this, I don't want to know, because it's going to be in a comment and it'll be after the fact, and then I'll be thinking, damn, I could have done that. They're nearly in. God almighty. Is that it? Well, 2 of them are in. Come on. This is hurting my hand. I'm going to have to move you because the camera's in the way. Oh, it's like tyres. I definitely should have warmed up. But of course it just went pop and then it went. So, we have plenty of room for fuel line and things. So I'd better go and look at the K&N filter website. They are 2 1/8, which will be what, 50, about 60mm. All right, there you go. Right, I'm knocking off for the day. I'm going to edit this video and see how much we've got so far. So who knows, there might be a bit more, there might not. I can squeeze another couple of minutes in, so I thought what I'd do is, seeing as I've got the proper spacers and everything made up now, really the back end's nearly done. The only thing we need is our rear brake. So I thought I was going to have to use a cable, because the Commando's a cable, because I thought it was going to have to go around all sorts of things. But that would normally be on like that, sticking outwards. But if I straighten this up a bit so that it's in there more, we're going to have our footrests more or less here, so the brake lever, the upper arm of the brake lever is going to be there. We've got, I can more or less get a straight pull to it, because it's no good putting bends in these. I did with the my trials bike, and what I had to do actually was at the bends I had to strengthen them across, because what tends to happen is when you pull, the rod tries to straighten itself, so you lose some of your pedal pressure. And the other thing it does, of course, is if you've got a couple of bends in it and it pulls straight, is it's getting longer. So all in all, your pedal movement just doesn't get to the rear brake. But I think we'll be all right there. So I'm not going to do much with that, because I've got to wait until I've actually decided exactly where the footrests are going to go, and then we can work on that. So that's it for now. I'm going to move this out of the way and do some other stuff. So as usual, go off and enjoy yourselves.